Welcome to Into the Woods. I'm your host, Dermot, and for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about all things Collingwood. If you want to join in the conversation, be sure to follow our socials. You can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Michael. How are you, Mick?
Good, thank you.
Isn't it much better doing this podcast after a win?
Oh yeah, yeah. It is. Well, yeah.
Well, nobody wants to rock up on a Saturday or Sunday arvo and talk about our loss. We're already miserable, so
Mm.
I'm really excited about this episode. Our first one of the year, after a win,
After a win, yes,
and our
yes.
first one as I'm going to say so-called experts. Real sort of
Oh,
like we experts in the
oh,
football community, in
please.
the world of YouTube, in the world of Spotify and Apple. We are now regarded as top tier. So people are now streaming in to listen to us and our opinions.
Okay. All right. So tell them where you're going with this, Dermot.
Well, I'm just sure that everybody knows. Do I really need to do I really need to
Okay.
explain? Is it more exciting than the win itself? What has
Oh
happened in the
dear.
last few days? I don't know, but
Yes.
well, why don't you explain?
Well, the Age had an article about
Second biggest newspaper in Australia. Yeah.
yeah, they had an article about fan content, such as this and such as a lot of people do out there.
Mm.
And they interviewed a few leading people
Bit strange that
from
we
that.
didn't get asked for an interview, but all right.
But then they listed under each club, they listed about three or four names
Mm,
of
mm,
podcasts such as this that are apparently influential, and
mm.
they've obviously done it at a random. They've obviously just gone on and grab names at random because I really don't consider ourselves. So it's not something I aspire to be influential,
Well,
and I don't think
I,
we
I,
are.
I think
I think they just grabbed a few names at random. They got us. They got
Past
uh,
Nations podcast.
and the rant and but there are a lot of good podcasts out there. I think the journo probably just turned to one of his mates. Oh, I'll give us a couple of names, and he just flicked up. Oh yeah, these three. Oh yeah, there you go, bang.
Look,
Um,
you might not look at yourself as that, but I do. I've always been that.
you look at me like that, do you? Because I don't look at you like that.
I don't look at you. No, I reckon when they put us in there, they would just talk about me alone, not the kooky man that can't press record on a computer, which was
Well, I don't. You know, I got.
painful. I asked Michael for the first time in over a year of us podcasting to just press record and stop, and then we do a little bit of a test beforehand. It's something that should take 20 seconds max. It took about 5 minutes. It was painful to watch.
I'm sure the listeners aren't interested, but assuming for a second they are, I want to paint the full picture. There
Hmm.
were certain hazards in relation to this task that hadn't been controlled. A, it's very glaring here. I could barely see the screen. Two, two.
You you
Let's go B.
you sit yeah, well,
Let's go
you were
B.
sitting right next to the computer, so the glare isn't really an
There was
excuse.
2 meters, and I'm not, I don't mean centimeters. There was 2 meters of dust on the screen. I could barely, and three, I only ever use a mouse at work. I don't use
Oh.
the pad. So I don't know where the hell the freaking cursor's going. So there you go.
All right.
But no, let's stop from there.
Let's
Good
let
win,
the
good
let
win.
well, we haven't got into the hot topics
Oh,
yet,
okay, go
but
kick it down the show.
so let's let the experts do this, all
Don't,
right? All
don't
right.
forget it.
The experts are about to talk about footy, all right?
Oh
Calm
yes,
down.
that's right.
Yes, it's according to the Age, second biggest newspaper in Australia. Get around it. Let's get into all the hot topics. All right. So we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon at about 12:30. So yeah, last night was a good win, but I don't want to talk about last night to open hot topics. I know we're a Collingwood podcast, but let's just quickly run through what happened on Thursday night.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about us again. That Thursday night,
Well, we can if you want.
you've taken the, I'll let you go with this, but you have taken the words out of my mouth. I think I enjoyed Richmond's win more than Collingwood's, to be honest.
I wouldn't go that far.
That was fantastic. Go Tigers.
That was, I stand by
Magic.
close to one of the biggest upsets in, I'd say, home and away football
Oh, that's
history. It was,
nonsense. It's not.
it is.
He said,
There were experts out there that were saying that Richmond weren't going to win the game for the year. There was experts out there that were saying that Carlton were going to win the premiership. Come round one, Richmond come out and
I,
roll them
I,
after being 41 points down. One of the biggest upsets ever. Not everyone is, I was about to say, is delusional as you when it comes to Carlton. But then again, They did just lose to Richmond, so
Exactly.
maybe they are that shit. But
Yes, they
but
are.
nobody in the world would have tipped Richmond. Not even you. You don't rate Carlton, but you wouldn't have tipped Richmond. No,
No, no, I wouldn't have tipped
no
Richmond, but
way.
it's not as been the biggest upset. I've seen premiers fall to bottom sides before. What are you talking about?
This was just
This,
completely
this was
unexpected.
the side that barely made the eight last year in Carlton. They're
Yeah,
not that
for
good.
injury. Well, I
Oh,
think
for
they
injury.
are.
And what was your
But
excuse like the other day, Dermot? What was
well,
your excuse?
this is the thing about Carlton is I was listening to Xavier Ellis talk about them the day after that loss to the Tigers, and he made a good point. And I'm like, yeah, they do have a lot of superstar players, like absolute A grade talent, like probably 5 to 10 of them. They're stacked, but their bottom 6 to 8 players,
What do you mean Xavier Ellis made that? Well, I've been saying this for 3 years.
their bottom six or so players are hopeless. Like, let's just say you got oh, well, Fantasia didn't play that game. Let's say Zach Williams and who's that recruit? Francis Evans and I don't know. There's a bunch of spuds. Ollie Hollands. If they walked into Richmond and they would they be automatic starters in their team? Probably not. He listed. I wish I could remember them. I should have written it down. He listed about 7 or 8 that yeah, some of them might start, but they're not absolute guarantees. The difference between Richmond and Carlton is Carlton do have the top end talent, but far out. Good on the Tigers, that was great.
Okay.
And we don't want to talk seriously about these two teams. Let's just talk about how fucking good it was to see Carlton lose that. I'll
Well,
let you talk about that
well, I've
because you
just
spent about half the night ripping into the Carlton fans on Twitter
yeah,
afterwards.
I did enjoy
Did you get much sleep? Or you had to be up early for work the next day, didn't you?
I didn't get any sleep. It was a
Go
lot
on.
of fun.
Open
But
up, rip
no,
into
no,
it.
actually, no. I've just added Xavier Ellis to the list, along with Alex Marcoux's former sister-in-law. Dermot doesn't believe anything I say unless it's supported by Alex Marcoux's former sister-in-law or now Xavier Ellis.
You know that a lot of these people have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm about to explain.
All right.
Last year, I was talking to Dermot about the finals ticketing system, and I think we were
It's
talking about
2023. Yeah.
20. Oh, was that long ago?
It was grand final week.
It
That's
was
what it
grand,
matters.
and I was talking about how each club is allocated tickets to the grand final. And Dermot refused to believe it, dismissed it
No,
out of hand. Kooky old man, so on and so forth.
that's not
And I
exactly right.
reinforced it. Now, please tell the story. He goes to Melbourne for the granny, and he's out of training, and he starts talking to a woman who happened to be Alex Marcoux's former sister-in-law.
Oh,
Alex Marcoux being the former Carlton Rover, and she reinforced what I said, and suddenly Dermot believed it totally. So we're just going to add Xavier Ellis to that.
I think
But
you mean like hold on. Do you mean every what like 18 clubs? All 18 clubs get a certain portion
allocate,
to.
yes, yes, they do. Allocation of grand final tickets go to each club. We've been through this, Dermot.
Oh, mate.
Alex Marcoux, former sister-in-law, reinforced it.
All right. Move on. But
Well, I don't
talk
have.
about Carlton quickly. Go on.
Uh,
You know you want to.
look, I've just been saying for 3 years, yeah, their top end names, and I won't even say talent, their top end names are very impressive. Your Kernos, your Mackays, your Cripps, your Walshes, your Wheaterings, so forth. But their bottom end, they've got no run,
Shocking.
they've got no run and carry. They're a key position back short, and they have been for years.
Hold on. They got Nick Haynes.
Nick Hayes.
Joe from Almost Blues
Yeah.
Brothers said he's going to finish top 5 in their best and fairest. How dare you dismiss Nick Haynes?
They've only got two A graders, and that's Cripps and Wheatering. Cameron is not an A grader, okay?
Cameron.
Not Cameron. Charlie
Kerno.
Curnow. Charlie Curnow is not an A grader. All right. We all know he doesn't play well in finals, but not only finals, but big home and away games. He doesn't play well in. McKay is never going to be a great player. McKay, whatever. Either way, he's never going to be a great player. He had a shot to get them back in it the other night, and he shanked it.
Old Harry was back for that, wasn't he?
And
Because
yeah,
his kicking improved a lot,
shanked
but
it.
yeah.
That was a big moment, a big player, a great player. Somebody who's on cusp of becoming a champion would kick that. He's never going to beat that player. But they haven't tuned in to hear about Carlton. Maybe they have.
But did you see after our loss to the Giants, the Carlton fans on Twitter just absolutely giving it to us? The
Yeah.
same old, the Prime Walshes of the world, Jack, all those morons. They've gone very quiet. Prime Walsh's accounts just disappeared. The greatest thing that happened in the last couple of weeks. It's now gone. I think it went before the loss. Maybe it was taken down. That guy's a moron. But he is. But it was good. They've gone silent now.
Look how mouthy we've got just because we've hit in the age.
Wow.
But anyway, let's another
We are big now. We
before
are big.
before we get onto Collingwood, another club I want to talk about.
Okay, yep.
Port Adelaide, and I think I said at the time last year, are they the worst prelim side ever? Like
Uh, that's a tough question. It's a
they are
question without notice. I need to sit
in
down.
my 45 years of watching, I can't remember a worse prelim side.
North Melbourne had a couple of bad sides under Brad Scott.
They
Do you
did.
want to know, before we continue about Port Adelaide, just because I brought up Brad Scott, we're going to talk about another club before Collingwood. Well, it's not a club, it's a coach. Brad Scott, the bad Scott, not the good Scott. Um, I'm pretty sure I was talking to my housemate when we were watching the Bombers the other night, and we're talking about how he's been extended for a further 2 years at Essendon. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
So
Yes,
I,
yes.
I I wish I actually checked this beforehand. I'm pretty sure he started as a senior coach at North Melbourne in 2008. This contract will put him through to 2027.
Hmm.
That's close to 20 years as a senior coach. Well, I know he had a couple of years break, but 20 years since he became a senior coach.
And
Has there
you,
ever been anyone in the history of the game that's got a bigger reputation for doing fuck all?
well, he's never got a club into the top four. North Melbourne, as you said, plays some prelims, but they did it the hard way.
Yeah.
They
And they were
didn't.
never a contender to win the premiership, even
No,
when they
no.
were in those prelims. If that makes sense. I know
Yeah,
I sound
yeah.
a bit weird, but
They never ended the home and away season in the top four. So in all these years, he's never got a top side into the top four. So yeah, he's probably an okay coach.
But he's done nothing. It's been
But
it's been nearly
but
20 years. He hasn't
yeah,
gotten
yeah,
close. Like
yeah.
like all this heat is on Hinkley, and rightly so. But this guy's getting a free ride. Like at least like you could say the thing about same thing about Ross Lyon, but at least he's got his team to multiple grand finals and they've been a contender. They've
Mm.
been a kick off a couple of times. This guy's done nothing. Anyway, get back to Port Adelaide. So,
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Like, and it wasn't just based on last night. I thought about it even last year. How's this side made a prelim?
mm.
And also just Connor Rosie. I was talking to one of my George, my mate, during the game, and he's talking about Perryman. He hadn't seen it. This is about quarter time. Well, Perryman hasn't done much, or
He was
half
very
time.
quiet,
And
Perry.
I said, oh yeah, but I think he's on Rosie, and Rosie hasn't done much. He
Mm.
said, oh, that's right. I've hardly seen him. Is he even playing?
Rosie
End of the
played well.
game, he got 30, 34, 35 possessions,
Mm.
zero impact.
Uh,
I've, I've,
I think
hardly
he
noticed
was I
him.
think he was okay.
It
I
remi-
don't think it was the best 34 disposal game, but I think he was all
It
right.
reminded me of one of Adam Treloar's 35 possession games when he was an inside mid.
Uh,
They were
he,
just they were kicks were
I
just
think
up
that's
the
a bit
chimney.
hard. I think he played all right. He was pretty much the only player tonight
Really,
that
I
contributed.
hardly noticed him.
Like I think you can talk more shit about Horn Francis. He was pretty bad.
Yeah, but anyway, that's anyway. Onto the pies. Onto the
Well,
pies.
well,
The
can I just say
last.
before the actual game? So this is Collingwood related. So
Oh yeah.
welcome. We've probably been talking for over 10 minutes now and haven't actually mentioned anything about the Pies. Before the actual game itself, Thursday night came round, the teams were released, and Michael would know that I lost my shit. Everybody that's watched us, listened to us, will know that I am the biggest Ed Allen fan going around.
I've never seen you contain your shit, Dermot, let alone lose your shit.
I love Ed Allen, and in the last pod, I was talking about, well, we were both talking about how he was one of the only ticks to come out of that Giants game. And I said he has to play every single game for the rest of the year. He just has to. We need to get games into him. Come Thursday night, he's omitted. He's omitted, and I just could not believe it. I said, as a lot of Collingwood fans are in the same boat. If you went on social media, you would have seen, I reckon 99% of Collingwood supporters out there were just furious with this decision. We won, and we won by 91 points, but that doesn't mean that I think it is the correct decision.
He did address it in his press
He did. Well,
conference.
I've got the quote here, so I'll read it out. So this is Fly in his press conference talking about Ed Allen, and he was asked why he was dropped. The journo asked why Ed Allen was dropped. He said, "It came down to role. I'm desperate to keep Ed in the team. I openly go to match committees saying we are going to play Ed Allen. We want Ed Allen to make it in our team. He'll play games. I guarantee he'll be playing games when he plays his role. This week we brought in Sullivan to play a different role. It came down to that. It's a tough decision. I sweat on those ones. They keep me up at night. We want Ed to make it in our team." Now I get, so I thought it'd be better hearing that, but if you're that desperate, uh, look, who am I to tell the great Craig how to coach? But
You, you,
that,
you were you
that's
were in the age.
oh, Good point. I have every right to tell him how to coach now. Um, if you're that desperate, just find a role for him. Play him. Like we had Pendlebury as the sub, and we'll get into that soon. We had Geordie out. I'm sorry, but there was a role there for Ed to play. There 100% was. Lockie Sullivan played all right, but he's nothing but a battler. Like that's what he is, and I like him. I like Lockie Sullivan. He kicked a nice goal. And he will be handy at times throughout the year if we have injuries and stuff. But you're not picking him over Ed Allen, who is, along with Nick Dacos, the future of our midfield. Like our future midfielders are going to be Nick, Ed Allen, and Tom McGuan, I reckon. Those three for the next decade. We need to build around those three guys. There's no excuse to drop Ed Allen. There's no,
No pressure on Tom McGuan, who's just playing
yeah. But
Western Jets at the
But
moment.
we're talking about Nick Dacos as being the future to our midfield long before he was drafted to Collingwood. So, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I think that we should have definitely played him. And now, looking ahead to the Bulldogs game, how the hell is he going to get back in? Because Geordie, I'm hearing, will probably be fit, although they didn't ask Fly in the press conference, which I thought was a bit strange. So he's probably going to come in for Sullivan. Ned Long isn't going to get dropped, and we'll talk about him a bit later as well.
Very good.
I will admit, on Thursday night, I was saying to you, how is Ned Long and Sullivan ahead of Allen? Well, Ned Long proved me wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I still am feeling very uneasy about it. I'm worried if we keep on treating him this way, then he will go home to WA. And I know that
No,
you don't agree, but
don't
like
agree.
I've
Panic stations.
I've been around long enough now. I can say that as a 30-year-old. I've been around long enough to see things like this happen quite a lot, where a kid is disrespected when he shouldn't be, and he then walks. And it's
Yeah.
happened a bit at Collingwood. But what's your
Well,
opinion on the Ed Allen situation?
Well, to begin with, I'm surprised you're able to hear that question at the press conference. Is there any chance, AFL, that you can just
Oh,
hand a microphone around to the journos?
I know. I
It's
was
it,
actually going to mention that.
it's
Yeah.
not that hard.
It's
Okay.
disgraceful.
You hear the coaches answer questions that we haven't heard. So
Mm,
you're just trying to piece together what the question was.
mm.
But yeah, I felt this way about McRae for a little while, but you can't complain too much because you got us to a prelim, won a premiership.
Oh, he's a
So
champion coach. We love Five, but yeah.
yeah,
But it doesn't mean he gets everything right.
yeah. Well, if you indulge me for a moment, I'll continue my answer. I've kind of had a oh yeah, young kids. He's not great on the young kids, introducing the young kids to the team. Even if you're winning premierships, you still need to introduce new blood. And we're at a stage in the moment where we really need to introduce new blood. And Ed Allen has been in good enough form to justify picking him again. Yet we chose to pick two journeyman inside mids who were got on in mid-season drafts over our previous number one draft pick who's showing promise. I just don't see the sense in that. But they won by 91 points, so
Yeah.
we can't argue too much.
No, we can't.
Ned Long played a very good game. We'll talk about him
Mm.
later. So maybe he's right, McRae, but he reminds me a little bit of Ross Lyon in that he doesn't seem to like the kids. But anyway,
Which is remarkable because we got him to the club. He was the best development coach in the country. And he spent time at obviously Richmond and was a VFL senior coach and development coach. He spent time with the Hawks as a development coach. Melbourne Storm, he even went to a different sport and was a development coach there. And I think Brisbane in his early coaching days too. So that was his strength. And I think Collingwood, after we finished second bottom of the ladder in Bucks' last year, probably thought maybe we need someone to help teach these kids. We need a teacher more so than a senior coach, a tough senior coach, like a Ross Lyon type or something. So we went down the Craig McRae path, and he was 100 times better than what we ever expected straight up. We ended up winning the
yeah,
flag 2 years later. But he's now kind of gone away from what his strengths were when he was an assistant, and that was developing young kids. And look, he could be developing them really well behind the scenes. But what we do know is we've had plenty of these guys like Ollie Henry and Joe Richards and Jack Ginnivan and the likes walk out. Guinea for different reasons, and I guess Ollie missed his mummy quite a bit and wanted a nice
mhm.
warm roast every Sunday evening. You know, he had to travel 40 minutes to get home to see her. Poor Old.
Yes.
But there's some more like and even guys like Poulter and Bianco, guys
Mm,
that looked all right, just ended up dropping off the face of the earth and going to end up getting delisted. Poulter ended up getting picked up again.
mm.
So I don't know.
My man Trey Roscoe. I
So,
was a huge fan of
um,
anybody who listened to us last year. Yeah, yeah,
Finn McRae right now is another one that's
yeah,
like, what's going on
yeah.
with Finn McRae? Like,
Mm. But I think they've
mm,
got a firm plan with Alan, and I think he's aware of it. I think that I like to think they'd all be on the same page. He's a bit of a slow burn development, but as I said, yeah, I would have liked to have
mm,
seen him stay in the side and get a few games under his belt. But there you
yeah.
go. But really, it was sorry, you got something to say? I was going to talk about the pressure and how.
We'll get to that in just one sec. The other thing
Oh,
is
okay.
Pendlebury as
Oh
sub.
yes.
Now, in Fly's press conference, he said that this was a plan that he brought up with Pendlebury over a month ago, and that he'd been thinking about it even longer with the 3 6-day breaks
Yeah.
in a row that they picked this game for him to be the sub. And ended up working out fine. It's
Yeah.
worked out perfectly. We won by 91 points, but geez, if we lost this game by a kick and we'd
Mm,
been playing a Lockie Sullivan the
Another,
whole game
yeah.
over Pendlebury, then we wouldn't be so kind right now, would
Well,
we?
another reason why you'd think they would have had Allen in the side if they knew they were going to use Pendlebury on the bench.
Yeah.
So again, it's a bit of strange, bit strange, but
I wonder if this is something. So I wonder if we're going to see, for example, someone like a side bottom next week as sub.
we're very critical on selection considering they won by 91
No,
points.
but these are issues that have been brought up online. This like the Ed Allen Pendlebury
Yeah.
thing. These things are getting talked about online. They've been brought up in the press conference, so it's relevant. So we're
Mm.
gonna talk about it. Like we said, we won by 91 points, and we'll get into that. And in a second, we're not going to be I'm not sure if we're being negative right now,
No, we're
are
not
we?
being
But
negative. Maybe we're being stupid, but not negative.
all right, get into the game. Go on.
Well, really, there's not a lot to get into. It was as bad as we were the previous week were as good last night.
Mm,
And the major difference is pressure.
mm.
It just came down to pressure.
Pressure. Our running game was back.
Their
Well,
running game was back, and that's on the back of pressure. 38 tackles the previous week, and again, I didn't look up the stats, but plenty of tackles this week.
how did you get into age? You never do your
Yeah,
homework.
I was getting low. But yeah, I assume we had a stack of tackles last night. You know,
I stack. We did.
yeah, yeah.
I'll look.
But
You keep it going. I'll look up the
yeah,
stats.
what I'm trying to get at is it was just a mindset thing. I'm not sure how it happens because I'm sure the players don't go out in round one thinking I'm not going to be intense today. I'm not going to tackle hard. I'm not going to chase. That doesn't go through their mind. So how does that change from one week to the next? Um, and it wasn't just the heat last week because the lack of intensity was evident in the first quarter. So it's a strange thing. What do we got for stats?
I can't find the stats.
Oh well, I'll just pan. You know what?
Okay,
You
here
know
goes
what I
stats.
saw? I saw last year. I was watching a documentary on the moon landing.
Oh God.
Do you know that the day they landed on the moon back in '69, July, whatever it was, that day? No, no, Ben,
I
don't
got this.
don't give me that look
I've
because
got the
this is
stats
this is
of.
good stuff. This blew my mind. Okay, the day they landed on the moon back in '69, the Russians on the same day crashed an unmanned rocket into the moon. So what had happened? The Russians were planning to go to the moon to collect soil samples, okay, and bring it back. And then they were kind of scrambling because they didn't want the Americans to get up there first. So what they did, they launched the rocket when it wasn't really ready, and it smashed into the moon the same day as Armstrong and Aldrin and Michael Collins landed on the moon. Isn't that outrageous? So nothing happens on the moon for all of eternity, billions of years, nothing happens. The same day, you get two freaking things landing on it.
All right, this is going on too long. So tackles, we were up 68
What
to
are the chances?
we're up 68 to 43 tackles. Tackles inside forward 50, we're at 14 to 6. So we smashed them. Seeing as though we had a hell of a lot more of the ball. 68 tackles to 43. You want me to
Yeah.
look it up?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's your whole point that you're
Yeah, yeah.
making.
Well, there you go.
Then you
Yeah.
just go, so, all right.
Yeah, 68 for 40. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure how that happens, how the mindset goes. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sign in the background. You probably can't hear it, but it distracted us. So there you go. What's the answer to that question? What happened? Why are we so intense one week, but the previous week we're not?
Oh,
How
man.
does that happen?
I don't know. Well, this is a question I was going to ask you later is what is the real Collingwood? Was it what we saw against the Giants? Was it what we saw last night? Or was it somewhere in between? Because that's because we've
I
just.
think it's somewhere in between, but it's closer to what we saw last night.
I hope
I
so.
think the first, like I said last week, I'm not worrying about that game. It was an outliner.
I'm just
Outliner.
I'm just wrapped because I I I tipped us and we forgot to do our tips last week, but I tipped us
We don't
against
really do tips, do
yeah,
we?
where we did Collingwood tips. Um, I was confident we're going to win, despite how negative I was after the Giants loss. But I was terrified because I thought if we lose this game, we are 0-2 with all the pressure in the world going into that Bulldogs game. And I could just see a world where it was going to be the exact same start this year as what it was the previous year when we were 0-3. So with that, the monkeys off the back now. We're 1-1. Can take a deep breath. We've kickstarted the year. To your question, I can't give you an answer why it's such a big difference from one week to the next, other than the fact that were we fit enough last week? There was a lot of players going down with cramping. Like maybe they just weren't ready. The match fitness,
Yeah.
the heat. I know it was hot again last night, but
Yeah.
we've now had that extra week. I don't know. Like yeah. Look, I think we crossed last round zero off, and it's like opening round never happened, which was the biggest crock of shit. Because let's
Yes.
face it, this it really feels like football's back now.
Tune in, listeners, for none of the answers.
Well, okay, well you tell me why was there
I
such a
don't
big
know.
difference?
Well, I don't. I was posed the question. I don't know the
Well, I'm not
answer.
I'm not I'm not inside the club, am I? How am I
Yeah.
meant to know what
Oh,
the
I don't
difference
know. I
between?
just thought you were in the freaking age, weren't you?
Well,
Maybe we should ring them up, get them to replace us with Black and White United. Um, there you go. So
uh,
what's next?
let's talk about Dan Houston. How does Port
Dan Houston.
Adelaide let Dan Houston run free? Like you think any club knows how good Dan Houston is? It's Port.
Well, apparently Connor Rozee, I heard this morning, predicted they were going to be a better side without Houston.
When
Uh,
did he say
oh
that?
yeah, no, it's I saw it online today. Yeah,
When what he
yes.
said that after the game?
Oh, I'm not sure. No, I don't think it was before the game, but I saw it today. That he predicted
It's
they'd be a
just,
better side without Houston in it.
do you see who's playing back now as a Houston replacement for Port Adelaide? He's not so much a replacement as in he plays on the key position plays, but he's being used as the main distributor of halfback and taking the kick-ins now that Houston's gone.
Who was taking the kick in? Jones, was it? Was it Jones?
No, no, but isn't he an awful player?
Oh, he's a good player,
Lockie
Jones.
Jones,
Oh, he's okay.
a
He's okay.
little,
He had a bad night last night, but
he's a shocking footballer.
oh,
He's just a shocking
he was
player.
just a bit fumbly last night, but he's
Oh
pretty
my
good.
God, no.
But anyway, who was it?
Finn Layson. They've gone for Finn
Oh, yes,
Layson.
they have.
So he's obviously was playing a lot of McStay, but he's also taking the kick-ins. He's the go-to man. Fuck, he's bad. He is the worst Dan Houston replacement you'll ever see.
Mm,
Absolutely shocking. It's hilarious. It is hilarious to see. So yeah, on your Connor, much better team with Finn Layson down there
Finn
controlling the
Layson.
back half.
But
But
he was very good, Houston.
oh,
How good was he? Like he turned it again, a couple of negatives. He turned it over once and it cost us a goal and he got caught holding the ball in the back line. But when he's got ball in hand, as you were saying last night, you just feel confident when you
mm.
see him with the ball in hand.
Well, I said to you, there's only three players in my time watching Collingwood, whenever they have the ball, you just take a deep breath and you think, okay, we're going to be okay here. And that is Nick Dacos, Scott Pendlebury, and Bucks.
Mm.
When those three have the ball, you just take a deep breath and like, okay, we're okay. We've only seen one game from Houston, but I already got that feeling. Whenever he had it, I was like, oh my God, okay, something good's going to happen here. And 95% of the time it did. He is a champion. We are blessed to have this guy in our team.
Mm.
And he's a lock to be All Australian for a third year in a row.
Oh, well, it's a bit of
No,
a
he's a
statement saying,
lock
well, it's a bit like
if he
saying
if he stays fit.
no,
Injuries obviously
it's a bit
happen.
like predicting the Brownlow, predicting the Australian
Well,
side. It's a bit. It comes down to the selectors
he is
having
by
some idea of what they're doing.
he's by far the best halfback flanker in the competition. It isn't even funny. There's no
Well,
one that comes close to him.
if that was the case, James Clement would have had six All Australians. But
Yeah, but
anyway,
what we know about Houston already is the All Australian selectors do rate him because he's made the last two teams.
mm, mm.
And Clement was
But
All
there you go.
Australian twice.
Yeah, but he should have
He
been
should
about
have been
six
more.
times. What happened with that when Houston got when Lockie Neal, my man Lockie Neal, become known
Lockie
as
Neal.
Sorry, Lockie Schultz.
Oh God.
Lockie Schultz. I got Lockie Neal in the mind because he
Oh
only got 10 possessions yesterday.
yeah.
Jordan did a good job on him.
Oh,
But
bloody taggers.
Lockie Schultz took the mark at about 50 in the boundary, dished off the handball. Houston
Mm.
nailed it. Why was that called back? What was the issue with that? Do you remember?
No, it's
Okay.
umpires just over officiating the game.
Okay.
Just
We should have a practice where we actually have some of the answers.
well, but it's
Somebody-
impossible to give these answers because the umpires don't know what they're doing. So how the hell are we meant to know what they're doing? That just let the game was over, umpire. Just give the fans what they want. That was a great kick from Houston. But
Yeah, umpires weren't too bad last night, actually. I didn't notice too much. Oh, if you look really, obviously there's mistakes made because it's just
when the umpires are bad, it's a good night for them because they're normally atrocious. So they were only bad last night. So good job, umpires.
Mm.
Let's talk about the triple M's.
Yes, yes,
Say it.
yeah.
Say that Mason Cox is a better player than
Oh,
Tim Membry, Michael.
well, it's not, you're not comparing apples with apples.
Oh well, at the start of the
It-
preseason
because
when we're doing our episodes, we had a debate because we said that both McStay and Myercheck were locked in, and I said, well, it's Membry's the other third, and you said no, you would have Cox ahead of him. Then we had that big debate.
I wasn't really strong on it though,
You
because
were.
it depends on what you're looking for. Membry is obviously not going to go into the ruck. Okay, so
No,
he's
but
not going to.
McStay's doing that.
Yeah, McStay's doing that.
And he's doing a
But
good job at it too.
he was okay,
He was
but
good.
he's not anywhere near the ruckman that Cox is,
Yeah, but
for obvious
but
reasons.
Membry is 10 times the forward that Cox
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So I was thinking this morning, well, Cox obviously isn't going to make it back in anytime soon. You wouldn't think,
Only an
but
injury would get him his
it
spot back.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to compare because they're just different structures, aren't they? It depends on what structure you want to go with.
I don't think
Um,
it's a debate. There's no straight.
at the moment, no, Cox isn't coming back in. You're right, as we stand right now. But there's another 24 weeks of the year to go, and then finals. So
He, I love Membry. I've always liked him as a player. And it's very rare that you like someone that plays for St Kilda because normally there's no one good that plays for that rabble of a club.
Can I just say something about St Kilda?
Yeah.
The Saints have had a tough week. A cheer out to you there. I just kind of it dawned on me the other day that we've always had a Tassie club in the league, and that Tassie club is St Kilda.
What do you mean by Tassie club?
Because St Kilda get treated like Tasmania do. Yeah, Tasmania always gets left off the map. Hobart's never discussed when they're talking about capital cities. So Tassie is always forgotten about in the same way that St Kilda is always forgotten about. A couple of things just in the last week. They brought out the AFL brought out their new ad. Have you seen that?
No,
Every year, the AFL brings out an ad at this time of
I haven't
year,
seen it. No.
and every club in the league is represented in this ad.
Don't say St Kilda. No,
St Kilda doesn't get a mention.
no.
People pointed it out online. Must have been an oversight by the AFL, but
Was it?
every other club is mentioned at least once, if not numerous times, in this
Oh
ad.
my God.
The Saints are left out, and also you sent me
Hypothetical premiers of the next 50 years, or was it
the
80
next,
years?
55 years something. So somebody's
It's ridiculous.
it's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous because how do you know who's going to win it in 2080? Could be Kalgoorlie, could be in the league by then, who knows? But so they've predicted every premier for the next 55, 60 years. The Saints can't even win a hypothetical flag. Like
They were the only team nominated. Even
No,
Tassie, you talking to Tassie don't get mentioned, but
yeah,
they did in that.
yeah, Tassie got a couple of flags, I think, but just poor old St Kilda. But anyway,
Carlton's first one was until 2067, so that's
from this point,
yeah.
so they're already 30 years from that now. So another freaking 30 years.
I think it was 66 years. I think it was
Yeah,
based. So
yeah.
that's fantastic. But yeah, the triple M's. Membry he's outstanding. He is our best set shot, I reckon, without a doubt.
Mm.
And you just watch this guy, and you just think, how did St Kilda let him go?
I think somebody said last night it's just their development where they are at the moment. Obviously, they're developing. You could say, yeah, but they need older players in order to help the younger guys develop. But maybe they thought they had the ratio right.
They have no one other than Max King,
Well,
and now
to say-
he's injured.
You'd think they'd want to keep him around just as a bit of a foil for Max King.
Well,
in the same way that North Melbourne brought across Darling for Larkey to support Larkey.
Well, they're playing.
You would have thought that Membry would do the same for King.
They're playing right now, the Saints,
Okay.
as we speak. It's the first quarter, and they're down 31-8 against the Crows. but their forward line. So they got Harry Boyd named there. He's on debut. He's a ruckman. He's just a natural ruckman. He's not a forward.
Mm.
Um, Kanamiti.
Yeah, it's not how you pronounce it, but anyway, well done.
He's a key forward. And then look at his other guy. You got
But
Whitney.
he's a small key forward.
He is
Camilleri, isn't
196 centimeters, so not too small. Windhager's named at centre half forward.
he? Mm.
He's a tagger. Look, 185
Yeah,
centimeter
but
tagger.
you can't take any
Yeah, but I
upset
know. But
when
you
it
got
paints.
Darcy Wilson, Zach Jones, Jack Higgins. Let's have a look at their bench. They've got no talls on their bench. Roel Marshall, he could play
Mm.
forward, so he'd probably better keep switching with Boyd, the other ruckman. I don't know. Like they're obviously playing at the moment. We're not watching, so who knows what they're doing? But they got no key forwards. Don't
Uh,
tell me Tim Membry. It's not like they had a million young gun midfielders and they were getting rid of an experienced midfielder that was still decent. They got rid of an experienced key forward when they have no other key forward other than the injury-prone Max King.
yeah.
So I don't know. To me, that is one of the strangest list
Mm.
management decisions I've seen in quite some time.
Mm.
And hey, we get him. So
Yeah.
like we're talking about how good Houston is, and Houston's obviously gonna make a huge difference. But hurry out, Membry and along with McStay, like who we didn't have for basically the whole of last year. How much better do we look up front with
Mm.
those two? And my check would just be loving life, wouldn't he? He would be feeling
Oh,
a
there's
lot
so
more
much.
fresh. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He just he's carried that forward line in
mm.
terms of a big man. He's just been battered and bruised for the last 6 or 7 years. And now, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure taken off him. He's going to love it. Yeah.
He's so and that's something like McStay, he's a good ruckman. I actually don't mind him in the ruck, and he's good around the ground because his hands were back last night. He was sticking
Mm.
everything against the Giants. He was dropping them,
Mm.
and like as much as I love Cox, and I don't want to sit here and bash Cox because he's been amazing for us, absolutely amazing, big game performer, premiership player, giving us one of the greatest moments in Collingwood history against the Tigers in 2018, and just a great bloke and someone that Collingwood supporters would love forever. But he when he's on, he doesn't drop on Mason Cox, but he's only on every few weeks. When he's
Oh,
around the ground, he drops a lot of marks, and
yeah.
now it's McStay that's in that position. He's not dropping them. Him and
Mm.
Cameron don't drop them, so we're looking a lot more secure around the ground when we're kicking it down the line. We know there's a target that we would say 7 or 8 times out of 10 are going to clunk it. They're that good,
Mm.
McStay and Cameron. So.
Mm. Look, Cox has done amazingly well for a guy
Mm.
who didn't even know the game existed
Oh
until
yeah.
he was in his kind of early 20s. For him to come across and play 110 games, whatever he's got so far, and it's not like the Irish guys, in that the Irish guys play a game that's not really dissimilar. America play nothing like Aussie rules footy over there. So I remember, Santa, what's his name?
So Tantara help him.
Yeah, he came down to your Auskick clinic
I remember
back
that.
in the day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we were speaking to him after the clinic. And we're asking him what's the hardest part about adapting to the game, and he said being able to read the drop of the ball and position yourself accordingly. And he said, "Oh, sorry, I had to get going. I have to kick Clokey's head in." Um, he's keen to get away, but I was just thinking that even though it was that hard for him, it would have been even harder for Cox to make that change.
Well, have you
But
seen the footage of Cox kicking when he first came over?
I did at the
He
time.
looked like a baby giraffe. Couldn't
Yeah,
drop the ball, and
yeah,
it was Fly that was teaching him. So this is more.
yeah,
Fly developed him into the player that he is. This is
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Fly being probably the best development coach in the country. He made Mason Cox what he is today,
Hmm,
and that's what Mason Cox was close to retirement after Buckley was sacked,
hmm,
and then when we hired Fly, straight away he said, "No, I want to repay the faith. Without this guy,
hmm.
I wouldn't have had an AFL career. I want to
No,
help this guy
yeah.
get a premiership." And then he was
So
obviously able to do that in 23.
I
So
wouldn't be writing Cox off yet.
I'm not writing him off in terms of he is fantastic backup. If Cameron's injured, he comes straight in. If there's a key forward that's injured, he comes straight in.
Yeah,
Like that, it's good.
he'll
But he
play
will
some
not
footy.
he will not play he will not play if there isn't an injury though.
Well, you wouldn't think so, but
No.
just again, I said let's not get too dramatic after the first game. Let's not get too excited after the second game.
No, we're not.
Okay,
But it's not like we know McStay's a gun player. We saw it in
mm,
2023. Like without him, we wouldn't have made a grand final. We know that Mychek's a gun. He's 5-time leading goal kicker, or whatever. And Membry we've seen him play 200 plus games with St Kilda. So it's not like these are guys that we don't really know much about, like a Reece McGuinness down back. We start getting excited. Oh, we just don't know what he's going to be like. These
Mm.
guys, we know exactly what they're going to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like, no, he's not getting in a game
Mm.
ahead of these guys. But yeah, it's exciting. This is the thing I'm most excited about is Houston and then the Triple M's, and I think that's the main thing to take out of the whole preseason, but also the
Uh,
first our first win of the year.
well, how did you see? They didn't have a lot to do to backline last
Mm.
night, but how did you see Reef's game?
Uh,
You talked about his lack of positioning last week, or his poor positioning last week.
it's hard to judge, like you just said. The ball didn't
Yeah.
really live down there, but I don't know. He I don't know. I don't want to sound too harsh. He just seemed a little bit shaky at times. Like,
Well, when he had the ball again, yeah,
yeah.
not great decision making, not great disposal.
Oh,
Hopefully that comes with a bit of
yeah,
confidence.
there was one. I'm trying to remember. There was one time in the first quarter when I was where I got really upset with him over something. This is when the game was still up for grabs. What did he do? What did I wish I wrote this down at the time.
Well, move on. You think
He
about
did
it.
something really, really bad. I think it was a positioning again. He was just yeah.
Mm.
But the jury's still out, isn't it? With Reece
Oh yeah,
McGuinness.
yeah, it should
Like
be out for a while. Yeah, but
I'm
yeah.
not as confident as what I was leading into the season. I had heard a lot of amazing things that he was just every single match sim, he was just dominating. I'm yet to see that in the first two games and our practice matches in the preseason. And it's something that I'm still nervous about because obviously we don't have a lot of depth in that position. It's not like, okay, Reef's out of form, let's drop him because we've got Billy Frampton and Charlie Dean as the only other guys that can go back there.
Mm.
I did actually think about this morning, and I feel bad saying this because you're not happy to see injuries. I'm not happy to see this guy go down, but Ash Johnson obviously, what did he do? Fractured fibula or something
Yeah,
like that. I
something
think
like
I got
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Fractured his left fibula. Yeah,
Uh, well,
he's
I thought he died the way Bobby Hill was carrying on.
yes. But he's going to be out for a long time. Maybe the season. Do you reckon that's a season injury?
Oh,
I'm
yeah. Look,
not. I'm no doc.
I'm just trying to think. There's broken legs and then there's broken legs, isn't there?
Mhm.
There's
Well, he's
different.
had surgery.
He's had surgery, so it's just not a slight fracture.
Yeah.
It was a significant break. Or if he's had surgery, he's going to be out.
Yeah.
By the time he gets back from that, gets his training up, you're basically riding off most of the year, I would have
Yeah.
thought.
Which would, in a way, I don't want to write him off for good, but that could be career over because
Oh,
he was
well,
pushing it to
yeah,
stay on the list.
yeah, as it
He was
was,
obviously
yeah,
delisted and
yeah.
redrafted. But anyway, the fact what the point I'm trying to make here is does this open up a spot for the mid-season draft now? And if it does, I just want to see this club go out and get the best mature age key defender in the state leagues. There's got to be one out there.
Well, who's that? Talking about the Richmond Carlton game, the guy that was playing on Mackay, he's a state leaguer from WA.
Blight, yeah, Blight.
Blight, Blight.
That's what I mean. They're out
Yeah,
there because
exactly.
he was a mid-season pick last year for the
Yeah,
Dogs.
right. Yeah.
They are out there. I have flashbacks to this is going back a while, but Marcus Adams from the
You're
Bulldogs.
having flashbacks. You weren't in Vietnam, Dermot.
Marcus Adams from the Bulldogs. You might not remember him, but
Yes, I do. Yep.
yeah, he was drafted from the state league, I think the SANFL, and made a
Mm.
difference straight away. They're out there, and look, there's a chance we get one and he's no good. There's a reason why they're not in the AFL system, but I think we've got no, our midfield's good. Our forward line is great. The rest of our defense is very, very solid. Obviously got a great ruck in Cameron and a great backup in Cox. This is the only thing that we
Yeah,
need on the list. And I don't want to see
yeah.
us enter this mid-season draft and get ourselves another midfielder or another halfback flanker, like
But they didn't seem to make it a priority over the break, did they?
no. No, they didn't. But I don't know. Maybe they had a lot of faith in McGuinness, and then I don't know. Now that I'm not writing him off. It's two games in. He might end up having a really good year, and I hope he does. But if it doesn't work, are we gonna go back to Billy Frampton or Charlie Dean?
Yeah. Neither fill me with confidence.
Mm.
They can both play well, but can they string a series of good games together. I don't know. Because remember Frampton played on Mackay last year. Is
Yeah,
it Mackay? Mackay.
Mackay
Mackay last year.
and
And
Danaher as well.
yeah, and beat them.
Mm.
But
But then
then
he has
then he has those days where
yeah he
yeah, yeah.
let's talk about talking of mid-season draft. Good segue. Ned Long.
Oh yes, wasn't he good? Wasn't he? He
Oh,
could stand up in a tackle, that guy, can't he?
it's like all of a
So
sudden.
strong, yeah.
I've always said he's a good pressure player. He's a good tackler. Doesn't get enough of it though, and that was my and
He shouldn't be having kicks from the boundary line. That's
no,
for
he
sure.
shouldn't be. But
He's not one of the Dacosses.
last
Uh,
night it was like after quarter time, he came into the second quarter, and it's like he just all of a sudden believed in himself. This was the definition of a breakout performance. He looked like Patrick Cripps out there. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near as good as Cripps. He
well,
most certainly isn't.
hopefully he goes better than 54% by foot. But anyway,
Is that what he went? Or was that what Cripps went?
that's Cripps's
Okay.
career
Um,
stats up to
but
last year.
this is the thing about Long is he actually isn't a great kick. And even last night he wasn't kicking the ball that well, but he would stand up in tackles. He would
Yeah,
shrug
yeah, yeah.
the opposition off. He was getting the ball out to Dacos and the likes.
Yeah.
He was just he's just a man that realized, hey, I'm 194 centimeters. I'm 10 centimeters bigger than these other guys, these midfielders. I can bully them. And
Yeah.
I don't know why it took him so long to realize that. Like,
He must weigh 95 at least. And
oh, well,
we're
who
not
knows
yes, we're
now?
not allowed to know. But yeah, he's a big guy, and
He was awesome. He
yeah,
was awesome. And
let's
talk
not.
about proving us wrong because we were just like, why is this guy in the team? Like, we just didn't understand.
Mm.
He was awesome. But I
Well,
hope it isn't.
Matty Boyd, the what's his role down there? One of the assistants.
Business, yeah.
They were talking to him. I only heard this interview yesterday. I was talking to him before the first game, and he talked about both Ed Allen and Long,
Hmm.
and he has great hopes for both of them this year. Is what he was saying. I think he's been working closely with both of them. So
There's a
yeah.
spot there for him. So I know last week we were really hot on Perryman, and Perryman obviously played a quiet game on the last night, and it gets me thinking that, and I don't want to chop and change my opinion week to week, and that's not what I'm doing, but it's just sort of thinking about early days. How can this team sort of work? And last week I was talking about Perryman's now that inside ball, getting out to the Goey and the Dacosses and so on. And maybe taking Tom Mitchell's position.
But
Um,
he's a borderline ball. He's not a huge boy.
he's a big
He's
boy.
a big guy, but
He's a really good tackler,
he's not a Patrick Cripps size, is he?
but no.
No.
But the thing about Perryman is he is so bloody flexible. We could put him on a wing, we could put him at half forward, we can put him at half back. He can play, as a loose man down in the back line, or we can lock down on a defender. He's so versatile. He's a great pickup for us, Perryman. Does he need to be that inside ball when we've got Ned Long? I know this sounds crazy, and look, we're gonna have to see him back it up. Let's not make this,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So
Again, one
yeah.
game.
One game, but if he strings another couple of these performances together, then is it going to be a Pendlebury, Dacos, Goey, Ned Long midfield, and then Perryman's the new Hoskin Elliott in terms of just being able to play anywhere we need him on the day. Yes, go on, make a Hoskin Elliott joke.
Oh no, I
Oh,
wasn't going
okay.
to because I actually wasn't listening to what you were saying. You wrote
Um,
something down. You mentioned in what context did you mention Husky?
just in the fact that Perryman could come in to this team and just play any position,
Yeah.
swap every single way depending on where we need him.
Mm.
Um, So I'm now having those sort of high hopes for a Ned Long. Obviously, where does that leave Ed Allen? I think he's still in the mix as well. I think that there's potentially a spot for both of them if you shuffle the magnets around. But yeah, but then also we talked about it last week. Where does this leave Tom Mitchell? So we talked about Perryman potentially being ahead of him in the pecking order in the midfield. Ed Allen's still in the mix. If I said that he wants to play Ed Allen, now you've got Ned Long there.
Yeah.
Come say round six if he's fit. What are we going to do with Tom
Oh,
Mitchell?
look, you hardly know what's going to happen next quarter, let alone 6 weeks' time, because injuries are going to be
Mm.
happening, form's going to be fluctuating. Who knows? It is a great at this early stage. It looks like it's a good problem to have with the adding to our depth. But yeah, who knows if Mitchell will come straight back in, or or yeah, he might have to spend some time in the twos, depending on form.
Oh, he'll definitely start in the twos because he can't
Yeah.
just come straight back in. He's missed a lot
No,
of
that's true.
football.
That's true. That's
It's
true. Yeah.
just let's just say, he's played 3 games in the VFL. He's playing
Mm.
really well.
Yeah. Does he get back
Does he
in?
get back in? If
Well, like I said a few weeks ago when we discussed that, for a side that's aiming for a premiership, he's a proven commodity, isn't he?
Hmm.
He's a guy can come out, and he's proven he's played great finals, a great grand final. Um, we don't have that confidence with these other guys yet because they just haven't done it.
No, but I
You
will
know.
say, so I was listening to Black and White United live a few days ago, and he had Sharad Wellingham on. Did you see
Oh,
it?
I saw it advertised.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it at some stage.
It
Yeah.
was actually a really interesting interview. So good on you, Andreas and Sharad. That was really good. But he was sort of talking about in the 2010 season the changing of the guard and players like Wellingham and Blair and those types of guys coming in and knocking out the guys like Lockyer and our boy Leon and so on. So let's just say come grand final day or come finals time in 2010, those kids had gotten us there. Would you then push them aside to bring back a Lockyer just because we know that Lockyer was a great player? So that's what you're kind of saying. Like we know Tom Mitchell
Yeah.
is a great finals performer, but let's just say Ned Long and Ed Allen all season had been dominating for us, and
Oh
Tom
yeah.
Mitchell
No.
had been air. Would you make the move in the
No
finals?
problem. No. I'm not.
No.
I'm not quite saying that.
Hmm.
I'm not saying what that scenario you just suggested that these young guys have done the job the whole year, and
Hmm.
then 2 weeks after the grand final, we did a switcheroo. No, you
No.
wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying, throughout the year, I think you'll find that Tom Mitchell is likely to play a role in this side and help us get to the finals and help us get to the grand final if he's fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Talk about him. Lockie Schultz, your boy. Go on.
Oh,
What
look,
do you think about his game?
I thought it was a very, very good game.
Okay.
He stats wise, he never blows it out of the water, but you got 7 tackles a game high. 7 tackles, feeding out handballs, a couple of goal assists. I like his energy. The finishing will come. The finishing will come in time.
Mhm.
He's obviously a confidence guy. Well, that's what it looks like from the outside anyway, that he's been down on confidence and that's affecting his finishing.
Mm.
I think, you know, I'd rather him than if you said even now, would you take, I know it's not just simple as him or Ginnivan. I know it wasn't that
You got
scenario.
the picks and everything thrown in there as
Yeah, I
well.
realise that, but if you had Ginnivan on one side, Lockie Neal on the other, who would you take? I'd still take Schultz. I would.
I would take
Yeah.
Kenny.
Would you?
Yeah, I
No.
would.
I was impressed. I think that
Schultz is
was.
a better team man, so he's better to have around a club because he's a hard worker.
Mm,
He's much loved by his teammates. He'll give 100% to the club and put the team before himself every day of the week. Whereas Ginnivan, I don't want to talk shit about it. I'm not just saying this because he's left, but he's a very selfish
oh,
operator, Ginnivan.
I don't know about that, but
But
no,
but if you're talking about who's a better player, it's Ginnivan. Now, Guinea might
oh,
change his attitude over time. You're seeing players like your Toby Greens and your James Sicilies over time go from that bit of a rat bag, selfish type, a bit of a loose cannon, into now they're both club captains. And
oh
so,
no, I'm not saying Ginnivan's no good. I'm just saying I prefer Lockie Schultz. I think you're forgetting Lockie Schultz's 3 previous years before coming to Collingwood. As far as when you say
yeah.
that Ginnivan's a better player, well, I don't know. I think Schultz has got the runs on the board as far as good seasons.
Look, Lockie, I rated Lockie's game last night. I thought he was okay.
I think
Actually,
it's
no, I thought he was good. I thought he was good.
I think it was probably or close to his best since he's been at the club.
Yeah, he was good. But like I say, even in Lockie's good games, it never comes easy. It's scrappy. He's a bit messy. He works his bloody ass off. There was one time where I just saw him. There was a Port player coming out of D50 and Lockie just busted his ass to get there. He didn't get close, but he tried. And no, I don't reckon there's any other player on the list that would have ever attempted that. But
Mm,
I
mm,
just I was watching him for God, this guy, he's 100% committed to the cause.
mm,
Like he is, but it never comes easy. And when I was looking at my stats, because what I do when we do the Julian Rowe medal is I write down a list of players that I think were good, and then I kind of put them in order of how I think they should go, and then I go to the stats to see if it backs up what I'm thinking. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I did.
And Lockie Schultz, I was looking at meters gained for every player, I really rate meters gained as a stat. And Lockie Schultz was last in our team, below Pendlebury, who was a sub, 75 meters gained for the game. Now, I'm not bagging him or anything, but that I think that sort of sums up Lockie in. It just never comes easy to him, does it? It's just very fucking scrappy,
Yeah.
and your heart is in your mouth every time you see him with it. And Maynard obviously played on that advantage because I'm not sure how much faith he had in Lockie slotting that goal. That was a great rundown tackle by
Mm,
Schultz.
mm.
Fantastic. And that's what you get from him.
Yeah.
But then
I
Maynard.
was probably overexcited when I said it was his best game for Collingwood. I'm not sure if I got him in the votes actually, but
Mm.
I was impressed. And talking about Maynard, I think I've said in the pod last year that when Schultz came to the club, my brother asked me what I thought about him, and I described and I told him what I thought of him as
Oh,
a
I
player.
remember you saying that.
And I said to him, he reminds me of Maynard in the forward line. That's
Mm.
how I see him. I see him as the Maynard of our forward line, just hard at it
I remember you saying that at the time, and
and
it made sense to me then. It doesn't make sense to me now.
I can still see it. I can
Yeah.
still see it. He takes that. He brings that same intensity. You know, he's not highly skilled or anything, but he's just like a dog with a bone, and
You know
you know,
when they
loves love. You know, as you say, gives everything to the club, and yeah.
You know when they say that you don't know how good some players are from opposition clubs until they join yours and you watch them closely week in, week
Mm.
out. Like Houston's a good example of that now, and Membry going back in the past. Daniel Wells,
Oh, it took the words out of my mouth.
like
Daniel, I didn't know how
yeah,
good he was until he played his very few games he
yeah.
got.
Well, he only played about 10 to 15 with us, but
Exactly.
they were
Exactly.
elite games, and you're thinking, geez, he's this good now, late in his career.
Mm.
What would have he been like in his prime at North? Like you always knew he was good, but you just didn't watch North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Another guy that comes to mind is Lyndon Dunn, very solid
Yeah.
defender
He
for
was. He was.
Melbourne. At the time, you're just thinking, who's this guy? Just a very average footballer. But he comes to the party and like, gee, he's reliable as hell. I think it can sometimes go the other way as well. And I don't know. You look at Lockie Schultz and when he's a Fremantle playing, you're like, oh, geez, 30 odd goals. Look at all these tackles. Stats look good. How closely did we watch him? Was he always this type of player at the Dockers and we just didn't know because you talk about how his stats were fine last year, but the eye test was pretty ordinary. Was it similar at Fremantle? I don't think it was because Freo fans were sad to see him go. And this is the thing I get. Like you always sort of back what the opposition supporters think about their players because they're the ones that watch them every week. And if they're all sad to see him go, then I would think that he's a good player. But I don't know. Like
Oh
I
no, I've got faith in him.
oh no,
I think he's going to be good for us and
I
run.
yeah, I think it's 50-50 at this stage on how it's going to turn out. Before we get into the votes, so hot topics so last week you tried mentioning this right near the end of the podcast in the ROG segment. So you wanted to talk about
I often try mentioning things, but you just knock me down.
you wanted to talk about potential trades. It's only round one, but we're already talking about trades. You wanted to talk a little bit about Jamara. Go on. And be careful what you say. Because if you watched last week or listened last week, you would know it was a very
Uh,
questionable end, which I was
no,
and ahhing about cutting out, but I left it in. Uh,
no, I
I'm not
just
sure
saw.
the age would have advertised us if they, if they heard how the podcast ended last week, but
I wonder when he went back to the club, whether they frisk him before he comes in, just for if he's packing heat. But I've distracted me there. What was I going to say? Yeah,
Jamara.
well, there's obviously speculation he might be leaving at the end of the year. Tony Shaw came out and said Pye should target him. And I just wanted to pose the question to Derma whether A, that's the type of player we want, B, whether we could actually get a deal done, because we don't have a lot of draft picks, as you know, and C, what's he worth given his troubles? Well,
Hmm.
given the rocky summer.
What he's worth is probably the hardest
That's
question
gonna
to answer, isn't it?
that's gonna
Hmm.
come to that's gonna be answered, I suppose, in the
As
next
the
few
year goes
months.
on,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But do type of play we need, yes or no?
Yes.
You'd want a Ugle-Hagan. Okay. Yep.
Like we've
Okay.
obviously got the three tools now, but they're all over 30. So yes, I want Jamara.
What would you give for him?
I would still give a first round for him.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be taking just. I think they'd be wanting two first rounders.
He's not
That,
worth
that, that, that,
his
that,
troubles
that-
at the moment. He's not worth
no,
two
no,
first
they
round.
would start right now. If they had to trade, they'd say we want three first rounders. That's what it would be.
Three, you reckon?
That would be the
They
dogs.
wouldn't do that.
That would be the dog's starting point. They're probably bluffing a bit, but their starting point would be three first rounders, thinking that they would accept two.
I don't think
I
I don't
don't.
think that would be, I don't think they would
I
even
don't
bother
think
with
they'd
that.
be happy with one. I don't think I'd want to give away any more than a one, maybe a second rounder as well, an early second rounder.
Keep in
I
mind,
just
this
don't,
draft
I don't
coming
know.
up is
I
I think
don't,
Matthew Lloyd regarded as a very weak draft. So you need to take that into account as well when talking about
yeah,
first round picks. So maybe you would
well,
go two late first round picks.
maybe. I don't know if he's ever going to become the player people expect him to be.
I think you can if his head is right.
Yeah, I don't think he's shown enough so far to say he's going to be that player. And he's been around a little while now. Yeah, but anyway, it was just
Mm.
one off the top of my head.
Was there anyone else that you want to talk about trade wise? There was
Oh no, we talked
what?
about Luke Jackson, but I think as you say,
Yeah,
if he's coming back, he's
no.
coming back to Melbourne. Is that his motivation? He wanted to come back because he wanted to go back to Melbourne, or he just wanted to come back to the city of Melbourne?
His partner's from Victoria,
Okay,
so
so
she
so
wants to go home. Yeah,
but
but he wants to play for Melbourne Football Club.
well, he wants. They don't always get what they want, or usually they do these days, but they shouldn't always get. If you want to come back to a city, you should be open to going into any club, the one that can offer the best deal for your side. Is he the type you'd want?
No. Maybe because there is no. Well, I was about to say no, but there is talk that Darcy Cameron might be interested in
Yeah,
going
yeah, exactly.
to West Coast.
Back home, yeah.
So it really,
Wouldn't Jackson be a good replacement?
I like Darcy Cameron more than Luke
Oh,
Jackson.
I do, but if
Yeah.
he's leaving, he's
Yeah, so
leaving.
that's what I
Yeah.
mean. So I want Darcy Cameron to stay.
Hmm.
If he goes, then yeah, Jackson could be someone that I'd be interested. But they're going to ask for the world for him. This is the thing. So I think they traded, was it two or first? I think it might have been close to three first rounders to get Jackson in.
I don't know why is everybody's players worth a heap, but not like Collingwood. Darcy Cameron, close to All Australian last year, Premiership ruckman. Well,
Yeah. What,
why isn't a young guy why isn't he worth a lot? Because he's just not a
I,
name. He's just not a guy with a big
I think
name.
he's worth a first rounder.
Yeah, but why
Well,
is
Jackson's a lot younger.
is he? How old's Jackson?
You'd be still 23 or something, I
Is
think.
he only that young?
23, 24.
You
Yeah.
sure? He played in the 21 grand final.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a look what we did. We'll talk about the poster we got behind us and talk about this. You look it up. No, just it's better than you always go on about
This is the post. This is the poster you wanted to
This
talk
is
about last week.
move a
Uh,
bit. This is the infamous not.
sorry to our Spotify and Apple listeners that
Well,
they can't actually see the
I'm
poster.
painting the picture for them. Okay, this is our infamous 1976 wooden spoon side. This is the first wooden spoon side.
Luke Jackson is 23 years old.
This is the, thank you for interrupting a third time. I've been going 20 seconds so far. This is the infamous 76 wooden spooners, the first of our two wooden spoons. Um, this side, not spoken about enough. So they went from wooden spooners to being a point of being premiers the next year.
Hmm.
It was just a couple of simple tweaks they had to make. They had to get rid of Murray Wiedemann as coach because he often wouldn't turn up to training, the coach himself,
Why
because he
is the
was.
coach wearing a Collingwood jumper?
I don't know. But he used to go with Ron Weirmouth here to the trots of a Tuesday night and would often either be late for training or not turn up to training at all. This is the coach. And also,
What's this guy laughing about?
well, I don't know. He's obviously somebody said something amusing. But also, I noticed that Charlie Watts was playing for us, the Rolling Stones drummer. So they made a couple of tweets, and before you knew it, they were in the grand final.
Yes.
There you go.
So anyway,
Poster.
back
There you
to
go.
back to the hot topics.
Shane Bond down there and Peter McCormack.
Luke Jackson, 23 years old.
Oh, right. Well, how many years ago? So 4 years. So he was only a teenager when they won the premiership.
So speaking of that premiership, he was obviously racking with Gone.
He played well.
He played really well. Did you hear Gorn's comments about flying the weekend?
Yes, I did.
How he said that Craig McRae, he's got form. He was chirping off at Alex Neil-Bullen when he was tagging Nick. Max Gorn, I love Max Gorn, one of my favorite players in the comp, and just seems like a great bloke. But Max, do you know who your coach is? Simon Goodwin? Simon Goodwin. I don't think you should be talking shit about our coach. Sniff, sniff. Anyway.
And you're worried about my Hugo Hagen comments. Please. No, we're all very precious these days. What what did McRae do? It was just a bit of banter. Let's just calm down.
Yeah.
It's and Kenny Hinkley, like Jared Waitley said it best. Ken Hinkley got 20 grand fine for doing this. And for people on Spotify, I'm pretending to be a plane. Like, really, what's the big and Chris Scott went on to say, yeah, if they're charging 20 grand for that, what do they do if somebody does something really bad? What, charge them a half a million? Like, please.
Speaking of Jared Waitley, how much better is Jared and Hutto on a Friday night than BT and Brayshaw?
Oh,
Oh, it's
chalk,
just
chalk,
changed everything, hasn't it?
chalk and cheese. Chalk and cheese.
It's just
So,
it feels like it kind of gives me Channel 10 vibes from back in the day. That was the best commentary team I've seen with Hutto, Stephen Quartermain, Tim Lane, and Wolsey and Blighty and all that in special
yeah,
comments. A young Matthew
yeah,
Lloyd.
that were the days, Sean. Them
Oh, that was
days.
good. But this is the next best thing. This is as
Yeah.
good as we've had since then.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, Waitley annoys me sometimes because he can get quite self-righteous
Oh, he's the best in the
and
business.
quite pompous, but he's a great footy caller.
Oh,
Like, the Grim Reaper bit,
oh,
like,
he's
wrenching
fantastic.
the cup back bit.
And Hutto's
He's,
amazing too.
as opposed to BT and JB's Wowwees.
Wow, we. All right. Okay, and the last thing in hot topics, before we get to our votes, I'm not sure if you've got this written down. Last week you wanted to rip into me about the top 50 players that I brought out.
Oh, the top, yes, I do. I've
I,
got my
I,
notes here.
I
We're going to
brought
talk
them
about
out
that.
before round zero. I kind of copied Kane Corns and thought,
Right.
if Kane can do it, why not me? Because I'm,
Okay.
I'm, I'm, I'm,
Okay.
I'm not sure if you saw, but I was in the age, so I thought
Now,
may as well.
now you've had your say by putting top 50 out. So, a couple of points. I don't want to spend
So
much
do you
time.
want me to stay quiet until you're done?
I want you to stay quiet because I want to give this the time it deserves, which is not very long. Because
Can I just say,
people aren't
for the
interested in
people
this.
out there, my top 50 is out on Instagram. So if you want to see it and know what Michael and I are talking about,
Right.
then you can view it on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10 is our
Right.
handle.
Well, the first thing I want to say is Brandon Starkovich at number one, a little bit odd, I would
What
have
are
thought.
you talking about?
You
That's,
got, you
yes.
got Starkovich at one.
Nick Dacos is that one.
Heaney. Dermot is seduced. Those who you'll get to know him, but he's seduced by hype. He always has been. If there's a lot of talk, a lot of chatter, Dermot just gets whipped up in it. Heaney's had one great season. Okay, one great season, which is last. He's played okay in other seasons, but he's had the one great year. Dermot's whipped him into the top 10 already.
Number 9.
So you got
I'll,
that.
I'll, I'll answer all this at the end. Yeah.
How is McCluggage a better player than Sam Walsh? I would take McCluggage every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
They're pretty close. Oh, sorry.
Now you've got him behind Walsh. He is a 10 times better player than Walsh, please. Um, this 50, are you saying this is where you're saying this is how it's going to be in the future, or
Nah.
this is how it is right
So I'll
now?
give you this is kind of it's hard to do these 50s because you're kind of like, how am I going to go about it in terms of, but the way I looked at it was, so it is based on past like what they've done to this date, but also I take what they've done in their last 2 years more serious than the rest. And then it's also got a little bit to do with the future and what I think they could do this year
Okay.
as well. So I'm taking the last 2 years into account and what I think they can do this year. And I'm sort of like it's a hard criteria to explain, but that's kind of how
Okay.
I went about it.
Yeah. So give a man enough rope, he'll hang himself. So I asked the question. So you got a guy who's played over 400 games, been an absolute champion of the competition.
Pendles.
Yes,
He's in
Pendle.
there.
Yeah. Indulge me, please. He nigh on won Collingwood a premiership 18 months ago.
Yes.
But apparently Sam Darcy is a better player than him, who's been around 5 minutes and has done.
So
He's shown a bit. He's going to be a very good player. But right now, as we speak, if I was going into a grand final tomorrow, I'd be taking Pendlebury. I'm sorry.
okay, can I
No,
at
I'm
least
sorry.
defend
Actually,
my
why do people apologise for things they're not
can I
saying?
defend myself on that one?
No, I'm moving on.
Well, hold on. Are
Okay,
we going to
go.
wait till after and I can defend myself on
Go on.
just with that one? So yeah, this is where the criteria is a bit funny. So yeah, I'm
It's
taking
hilarious, the
so
criteria.
Pendlebury. I got at what have I got him at 44, and as a 37-year-old, there's still been the top 44 players in the comp. That's bloody amazing. And where do I have Darcy? I have him at
Yeah,
36.
yeah, which is higher.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're saying he's
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
saying he's
I'm
better
saying that.
when you're taking the past, when you take into a
So I'm
past.
taking the
Like,
last 18 months into account and what I think they could do this year. So I've got Darcy as I
But
predicted him to.
you said their whole career once. So you said you
Yeah,
took
yeah.
into account
So
their
in a
career.
way, I'm looking at the.
So when Pendles was
You
winning
had your
best and
say. You
fairest,
had your say.
when Sam Darcy
Can I
was
please?
born,
Can I please? Yes. Can I please defend myself?
please.
So yeah, I am taking their whole career into account, but mainly their last two seasons. If they've been amazing for 5 years, then they're more of a chance of being top three or whatever. But the last 2 years in particular is what I'm looking at, and also sort of consistency, weighing up consistency alongside big game performers. That's another thing that I'm looking at, and that's why Heaney is top 10 because he's played some great, not so much grand final day last year, but played some great finals. And also his last two seasons have been sensational. So I had him at number 9. I think that's fair. But sort of Darcy and Pendlebury thing. I tipped Darcy to win the Coleman medal this year. He kicked 40 odd goals last year. And my mate Max asked me a few weeks ago if I could take one player in the competition right now to build my team around, who would it be? And I said Sam Darcy.
Yeah, because that's in the future. That's in the next
Yeah,
five, 10.
Pendlebury, I'm not taking what Pendlebury did in 2010 into account, really. So Pendlebury's had an okay season last year and was amazing in 23. And he sneaks into the 50 based off that.
Charlie Cameron, we touched on him earlier on.
Charlie Cameron,
Where
yeah,
have you
good
got
point.
him? You got him top 10 or something ridiculous.
Charlie Cameron, I don't have
Sorry,
top
what,
10.
keep on saying it. Charlie Curnow. I keep on.
You even wrote down
I
Cameron.
did. Charlie Curnow.
That's
Where have you got him? You got him top 10, haven't you?
6.
Yeah, that is, damn it. Okay, that's ridiculous. As Gary Lyon also said this, and
Mhm.
I mentioned it before. He's not an A grader. Okay, to be an A grader, you need to play well in the big games consistently. He hasn't done that. He's not an A grader.
Okay,
He's again, you're seduced by the hype.
let me defend this selection in terms.
We
So
don't want to spend a lot of time
no,
on
no,
it.
no, we don't. But well, you can't just slam me and then
No,
just let me.
but you've had your say by bringing out
Yeah,
your
but
list.
can I explain why I have him at number 6?
Well, it has to be a good
So
explanation.
consistency, it comes into it, and he has been the best key forward in the comp for probably 2 or 3 years now. I'm not buying into this Kerno can't play finals debate. Like
I'll
I
show you the stats if you like.
let me have my say. You slam me. So Kerno, he's as much as I hate him as a bloke and as a Carlton player.
Well, we don't know him as bloke.
No, I don't like him. But I admire him as a player because he's the one key forward in the comp that can really just rip a game away from you. He terrifies me every time we come up against Carlton. But his finals record, at the end of the day, he's only played 3 finals.
But I'm not just talking about his finals.
No,
I'm
but
talking about his big game record.
no, his
Home
big
and away
game. No,
footy.
don't you worry. His big game record at home away foot is fine.
No, it's not.
It is. He kicked 6 on the reigning premiers in 2020 on the premiers in 2023, being us. He's a good player. He's a great player. He's played 3 below average finals. He didn't play last year because he was injured. Didn't play in their one final last year. I don't understand why people will keep on saying he doesn't stand up in finals when it's been 3 games of football. 3 games of football. I can understand if Colton played more finals this year and he doesn't perform, say they play another 2 or 3, and that's 5 or 6 finals where he doesn't perform. Hey, I'm on the same bandwagon. I'm like, nah, he's not a big game performer. And he'll drop down the list at that point. But I haven't seen enough evidence to say that he's not a good big game player yet. He's a gun. He's the 6th best player in the comp.
You know when you were a kid and you used to bring home your finger painting from Kinder, and we used to wax lyrical about it. Me and your mummy, oh, how good was this? We used to put it up in the fridge. They weren't good, Dermot. We lied to you. Okay, I'm through lying to you. This list is also crap. All right.
It's good. Anyway, move on.
Rankin is a better player than Sam Taylor, apparently. Rankin is the cream, he's not the cake. Okay.
Rankin 25, Sam Taylor 26.
Okay.
That could swap.
Sam Taylor is a generational key position
Yeah.
back that you can build your side around. You build your premierships around these guys. Rankin is your cream on your cake. He's not the cake.
I will admit, after watching Taylor last week, I was like, oh, gee, I might have him too low. But then in my defense, these guys are all capable of playing big games like that. Whenever any of these guys come out and dominate, you're probably like, oh, yeah, I should have had them a bit higher. They're all great players. Taylor, yeah, but maybe he is in the top 20. I have him 26. He's a gun. I'll rate him.
Just in closing,
Rankin's a gun too. Don't disrespect Rankin.
just in closing, these lists, generally speaking, these top 50 lists, they're nonsense. And
It's hard to do.
I'll tell you why they're nonsense, because if you write a top 50 list today, I ask you to write it again tomorrow, they'd be different. Okay?
Maybe based off of seeing a few games of football, because
if I asked you write your top 50 today and then I said to you write it again tomorrow, it wouldn't be the same. there would be different.
It's just a bit of fun, Michael.
So it's well,
The fun police.
I'm not going to
I
tolerate
see
fun.
there's one more dot
I
point that you're refusing to read out.
I am not going to tolerate
What's
fun in this
what's
environment.
that last dot point?
What? That's a nonsense thing.
Nonsense.
Nonsense.
Worst.
Next day.
Okay.
Next day.
Sorry. Um,
Yeah, that's your top 50. I don't like it.
okay, cool.
Anyway,
Why don't you do a top 50 and then we can
because I've just told you why, because they're just nonsense anyway.
All right.
How can you compare a kind of a ruckman to a halfback flanker and say one's better than the other? Like
Oh, it's not
they're
easy.
different
It's
roles.
not easy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
will. One thing I will say is Kane Corns did his list, and that's what inspired me to do mine. Obviously, Mike Sheen and Robbo and all that had done it for years for the Herald Sun. He didn't have to go in his top 50, Kane Corns. Now,
No.
I will admit, the Goey was one of the harder players for me to rank.
Where'd you have him?
I had him at pretty high, 15.
Hmm.
Now, he was literally the hardest player to rank because look at it consistency. He's not it. That's not Geordie.
No.
So you're comparing him against a guy like Merritt, who I have one spot higher, who is the definition of consistency. So how can you compare? But if you're doing a list of tomorrow's grand final day, who do you want in your team?
Hmm.
He would almost be number one in the whole
Well,
comp. So
it reminds me of the old Gary Ablett Senior versus Gary Ablett Junior
yeah,
debate.
yeah.
If you were, well, who would you take, Gary Senior or Gary Junior? And somebody pointed out, if it was a home and away game,
Hmm,
for a home and away season, I'd take Gary Junior every day of the week. If
hmm,
we're going to the grand final, I'd take
hmm,
Senior.
hmm.
And that sums it up beautifully. And
That's
that's the same with the Goey. If I
because
was going into the grand final tomorrow, there wouldn't be many I'd take ahead of
no.
the Goey.
No, and that's the thing.
A fully fit to
But if you're
Goey.
doing your top 50 based on them as home and away footballers, he
Hmm.
probably would struggle to make the top 50. Like Corns didn't have him
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
But I
probably.
had him
Yeah.
at 15 because I'm just like I'm these finals games just like are just
Mm,
better than anyone else in the competition.
mm,
So I think 15 was probably a good spot to have him. Like I had him, yeah, Merritt one spot ahead of him. Yeah, guys like Goulden two spots ahead of him. Like if grand final day, I'd take him over bloody Goulden in a heartbeat. But uh,
a touch of the macabre. Do you know why?
no,
No,
Michael.
no, we've had some fair income great reviews, and not just how I normally make up my reviews. This was a real
This is
one.
one person. I saw one person mention
Maggie has been a great supporter of ours. Thank you,
it.
Maggie. Maggie said, "Give us more. Give us more.
I'll give you
Touch,
30
a
seconds.
touch.
Go.
No, I don't like playing under pressure. Just give us let it evolve. This might be one you send the kiddies out of the room for, maybe. You remember do you know where the genetic genealogy thing that they use to hunt serial killers came from? You're aware of that? So what they do is they get a DNA of a serial killer or any killer, I suppose, doesn't have to be serial killers. They get the DNA of the killer and they run it through one of these genealogy databases, and then they find out the killer's relations. And then for investigation, they just eventually narrow it down to the killer themselves. Do you know where that came from? Where the idea came from?
I don't
I'm
know,
going to tell
Michael.
you where it came from. It was a hypothetical questions. Where they came from, I was watching a documentary last year, and they had this is going back about 15 years ago. They had some, don't slump in your chair. They had a serial killer somewhere in America, and they were given regular updates to the journos about how the investigation's going. And so anyway, the sheriff's up there and he's giving them feedback, and they're not getting anywhere. And one of the journalists says, "Why don't you run their DNA through one of these databases?" And they showed this press conference, and you could tell the sheriff didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And he kind of shakes his head and he thinks, "Oh, I can assure you, where every lead's been investigated. We're going down every rabbit hole, blah 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 blah." And you could tell he didn't know what was going on. Anyway, apparently another cop from across the country who was after a killer went off in his head, and he used it to catch that killer. And in turn, they ended up getting the Golden State Killer, the famous Golden State Killer, by that method. How fascinating is that?
Let's get into the Julian Rowe medal. All right. So I've given my full 60 votes. And how can you not give your full 60 votes when you win by 91 points? So in reverse order, I've given two votes to Darcy Moore. Now I know the ball didn't really live down in that defense hell of a lot, but I think the commentator said at one point that he'd been involved in something like 10 one-on-ones, had won eight and there was two draws, hadn't lost a one-on-one. So he really did hold up that defense when our defense when the ball was down there. He had the 10 disposals, 7 marks, 7 intercept possessions. Yeah, I was impressed with his performance. 2 votes also to your mate, Lockie Schultz. I gave him votes. 17 disposals, an equal game high 7 tackles, 24 pressure acts, 6 score involvements, a direct goal assist, and a goal of his own. So it was a very solid game from Lockie Schultz. And that's a game that he probably deserved maybe even another vote or two. But if there was so many good performers, I had to sort of
Yes.
like even
You
it
have to
out.
compromise it a bit.
Um, 3 votes to Jamie Elliott. He was in and out of that game, but he had some really good patches. He only ended up with the 10 disposals, but he had 6 score involvements and 2 goals. I think it was was it the second quarter where he just absolutely lit it up. And yeah, it kind of died out a bit after that. But when the game was there for grabs, Jamie was good. 3 votes to Brody Myercheck as well. He actually had the second least amount of disposals for us after Pendlebury. Only had the 9, but he had 5 score involvements and kicked 3 goals. So he still kicked 3 goals. He needs votes. He just played.
I'm not sure it automatically
No,
translates to
but
votes because you kicked three
no,
goals.
but he played his role
Yeah,
perfectly. That's his
kicked
role.
kicked a couple of late ones.
No, but he had some early as well. I think 2 of his goals were actually quite early in the game. He
Oh,
played
yeah,
his
no,
role very well.
he wasn't in my votes, but yeah, he played okay.
4 votes to Pat Lipinski. I will add, I've given 12 players votes here, so more than half of the team got votes. 4 votes to Pat Lipinski, 24 disposals, 487 meters gained, 7 score involvements, and a goal. So a really good game from Lipinski. He has a good record on Port Adelaide. He kicked 4 on him last year.
Hmm.
5 votes to Steele Sidebottom. He had a team high 31 disposals, 11 of them contested, 415 meters gained, 5 score involvements, and a goal. Stat wise, he was probably close to one of our best. There were a few times I thought he was a little bit fumbly. I guess there was a lot that were like that. The ball was it was a bit dewy and greasy, but yeah, still a good game from Steele. 6 votes to I've given 6 votes to 3 players, and one of them is Ned Long, who we are just talking about. Listen to this. He had 24 disposals, a team high 14 contested possessions, an equal game high 7 tackles, a team high 28 pressure acts. He had 5 clearances, 5 score involvements, and 2 direct goal assists. That is the definition of breakout performance then from Ned Long. Braden Maynard, also 6 votes. He was defensively very, very good and gave us a lot of drive from defense. He finished with 14 disposals, 6 intercept possessions, 522 meters gained, 6 score involvements, and 2 goals within about a minute. That was the MCG would have erupted after that
Hmm.
second one,
Hmm.
especially. Brazzy was on. Nick Dacos, my boy, Nick, 6 votes to him as well. Was tagged by Willem Drew and was able to fight through that. He still got the 26 disposals, a team high 610 meters gained, 8 score involvements, 2 direct goal assists, and a goal of his own. So it wasn't his most amazing game ever. It wasn't dominant, but still very, very good from him, especially when you got to take that tag into account. I gave 7 votes to Dan McStay. 21 disposals, 10 of those were contested, 7 marks, 5 tackles, 8 score involvements, and 3 goals too. He's just playing his role perfectly for us at the moment. And I've given 2 players 8 votes, so they're sharing best on ground honours. One of those guys, Tim Membry, 17 disposals, an equal game high 10 marks, a game high 11 score involvements, 2 direct goal assists, and 4 goals won. 3 of those goals were the opening 3 goals for us when the game was there up for grabs. So he is amazing, Tim Membry. And the other guy in 8 votes, no surprise, is Dan Houston. I feel like he's going to feature a lot this year. He had the 27 disposals at 89% efficiency. So 27 at 89%.
Yes.
A game high 10 intercept possessions, 6 score involvements, and 5 tackles. He was, along with Membry, for me, best on ground. So I got Houston and Membry, 8 votes, McStay, 7, Nick Dacos, Maynard, and Ned Long, 6 votes, Sidebottom, 5, Lipinski, 4, 3 votes to Mychek and Elliott, and 2 votes to Schultz and Darcy Moore.
Right.
Yours, Michael?
My vote's not dissimilar. Houston 8, Nick Dacos 7, Membry 7, and then your host of players on 6, Long, Lipinski, and Sidebottom. You got Dan McStay with 5, along with Jamie Elliott. I thought he was very good early, 5. Crisp 4. More, 3.
Yeah.
Solid game from. I've made a late change. I've given Schultz votes, 3. Was tossing him up with Maynard. So for the full 60 votes. So there you go. So
Oh, wait, Membry is there. I missed Membry.
yeah. So
Oh,
Houston 8, Nick Dacos 7, Membry 7, Long 6, along with Lipinski and Sidebottom also 6. Was Sidebottom in your votes?
yeah, gave him 5.
Okay. McStay and Elliott 5 each. Crisp 4 and Moore 3 and Schultz 3. 60 votes. There you
Very
go.
nice. Now it's time for Blast from the Past. And we're going back 23 years to the qualifying final of 2002 against Port Adelaide. So Collingwood, 16-12, 108, defeated Port Adelaide 14-12, 95. Pies by 13 points in front of 33,000 people at Amy Stadium. The leading disposal winners, Lakiria had 40, O'Brien 24, Loney, my boy, 21, and Scotty Burns 20. The leading goal kickers, Leon, friend of the show, 3 goals, Ryan Loney 2, Rupert Betheris 2, Anthony Rocker 2, Nick Davis also kicked 2, and singles to O'Brien, Burns, Steinford, McKee, and Didak. Yes, go on. Go.
No. It's just been a tense little break between segments. Unfortunate incident occurred.
An incident.
Beyond anyone's control.
So
And
let's just put it this way. Michael,
Dermot, what's the expression you used earlier on? Lost his shit again.
okay, I've never given Michael any responsibility with the technical side of this podcast ever until today, because where we're seated, I can't actually move out to hit pause or whatever.
This is all factual.
So I got Michael to do it. He nearly wiped everything we'd done. We've probably been speaking for nearly an hour. All he had to do was press pause and then hit record again. That's all he had to do. And his fingers starts wobbling. And I've never seen anyone struggle so much with a normal laptop pad. I've never seen it. And he nearly wiped it. I jumped up in the seat. I told him, get the fuck away from it. And I literally thought everything we just did was gone. I don't know what you were doing. 2 buttons. You have to press 2 buttons. How can you be so bad?
Don't worry, listeners. I'm okay. You don't need to report this abuse.
It was very stressful. But anyway, let's move on. So this game, this was a famous final, wasn't it? Do you remember it? The 2002 qualifying final.
Oh yes, I do. Yes, I do very much. The game where Bucks was didn't play because he had a hamstring injury.
Didn't play, yeah. And
Yeah.
we struggled in the back half of the 2002
Yeah.
away season. No one gave us a chance. Port Adelaide,
Yeah.
top of the ladder, clearly the best team in it at that stage.
Mm.
And yeah, we were huge underdogs, and we got away with the win with our Bucks. So it was set up our whole 2002 finals campaign. We nearly snatched that premiership from the Lions. But yeah, like looking at this game, like so many of our favourites were dominant in this game. Like I said, in the leading disposal winners, Ryan Loney, 21 disposals and 2 goals. My boy, your boy, the Rupert Betheris kicking 3. Leon, like we're a bit biased now to, we're on good terms with Leon. But 3 goals in this final, and people talk about him having a bad finals record.
Mm.
Like,
No, he was. Sorry, I'm still a bit shaky after that abuse. I'm just not quite with it, but yeah, keep on.
well,
going
you
on.
nearly wiped over an hour's work, Michael, just from not being able to press 1 button. Why were your hands shaking?
No, I was trying to move it along, and yeah.
You're so bad. Like
But
you work with computers. I
But
don't
you-
understand how you're that.
You're hovering over me, and you're saying you're too close, and then my
I wasn't hovering over
my
you. I was
fingers
sitting
slip.
back here, and you were all the way over there.
My fingers slip. But keep on going. People aren't interested in this. Keep on going.
But yeah, no, that was that. It was a famous victory. Set up the whole final. Who do we end up beating in the prelim from that? It was the Crows. Set up that prelim with the Crows.
MCG. We were at that game. Well, I was there. I'm not sure if you were there.
I was there.
You were
It's a
there.
it's a funny story actually.
Yeah.
So I was about 7. I would like to say I was 7 years old, and I I don't know why. I was sitting on your lap for whatever
I
reason
think
the
you're
last
right. I
quarter.
remember something annoying was
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
I was
I
sitting
was
on
sitting on your
yeah.
lap. Anyway, the siren goes, or what? Something happened. Maybe we kicked the ceiling goal, and I'm sitting here like, and Michael jumps off his seat, and I just fall flat on my ass. Gets into the
Good
holes.
times. Yeah, we're right behind the goal. Where Rocker launched his 65-meter
Yeah,
drop punt. We're behind those goals.
yeah.
And I think it was the Adelaide Cheer Squad was behind those goals. I think I just gave it to them. But anyway.
Yeah, but really not a lot to talk about because it's so, when I'm looking into these games, I'm more looking for the games that no one remembers because we can talk more about those sort of games. This one I'm gonna admit I didn't remember about Blast from the Past until about an hour and a half before we
Did
started
it
recording.
did anybody scream at you when you made that mistake?
No, because I
No.
did nearly wipe over an
Keep on,
hour's
keep
worth
on
of
going.
podcasting, but the one thing that I did want to talk about, bloody Benny Johnson, that rundown tackle
Yeah,
on
well
Peter
done.
Burgoyne late,
Yeah.
very late in that game was one of the most. We talk about the 2010 grand final, Heath Shaw smother.
Yeah.
This is right up there. That was
Mm,
unbelievable,
mm,
stupid from Peter Burgoyne, and he
mm,
did something similar late in the third quarter. I was looking at the highlights of this game. Took a mark, basically a little bit outside of the goal square, played on, and it was touched, and then the siren went. So it was basically bang smack on three-quarter time, and he's just whining to the umpire. So he fucked up twice
mm,
in a
mm,
space of basically with a quarter left, he fucked up twice, just a simple mark in the goal square. So, but yeah, that was an amazing tackle from Benny Johnson. Um, and yeah, there's something that I noticed. Carl Steinford was in this game, someone that the only person that we've been able to get between the two of us in Who Am I so far.
We've actually been able to get, other than your Andrew Shawble, every time we're able to get the person eventually, but we've just taken a
Mm.
bit of a risk and gone early. And yeah, so we,
You
yeah, anyway, keep on going.
role plays in this case. So you spoke to Leon about this team in our
Oh,
interview with him,
yes.
and if you haven't seen our interview with Leon Davis, go back. It was about a month and a half ago. But you talked about this 2002 team being Mick Moldhouse's favorite ever
Favorite team.
side.
Yep.
And you look at some of these names in here who are just simply role players. Yeah, Jared Malloy, Jason Cloke, Glenn Freeborn, Steve McKee, Rupert Betheris, Carl Steinford, Shane O'Brien, a young Heath Scotland who ended up becoming a lot more than a role player when he left us
Mm.
to the Blues. But that's not a team that you think would be win. Oh, we didn't win the premiership, but coming close to winning a premiership, especially against one of the greatest of all time. So you can see why Mick loved this side so much.
Mm.
It was quite
Yep.
remarkable.
Yep.
But yeah,
It was a real workman side, wasn't it? Could have easily have snatched that premiership. Just easy.
mm,
9 points, heavy day. Yeah, brought them back to our standard to a certain degree.
mm.
Just yeah, close, but no cigar.
All right. Anyway, I apologize about this blast from the past segment because it probably could have been better. I just didn't put a lot of time into it. But promise next week will be better. We got a Bulldogs game to do next week.
Right.
Do you want to take one?
I want to one I want to take is the I don't think we played Richmond for quite a while. There's a good
Nah,
Richmond
not till
game
later
on
in the year.
there,
Yeah.
but I'll do a couple like I
Is
did
there any
last year.
Bulldogs game that you?
Off the top of my head, I can't think. Leave with me.
Here's the thing. I'll go on my trip around Australia and New Zealand very soon. So we've only got a couple more podcasts of doing this together.
Hmm.
And then we'll be doing for about 6 or 7 episodes in a row, be doing it over Zoom.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to control you while we're not in the same room. So that's going to
Oh
take.
no, we'll just we'll get somebody to sit in the corner and just scream at me intermittently just to keep me
Uh,
in line.
but what I'm trying to say is I'm going to be off doing a lot of things. So I'm not sure if I want the responsibility of doing Blast from the Past while I'm away. So
I'll take
so
it.
you can do
I'll
it
take
for
it.
a
Blast
good
from the past.
6 to 7 week patch.
Yep.
Um,
Leave it with me.
all right, that's good. All right, speaking of you and your segments, it's time for I Got Vomit.
Okay. Um, just having a little chin chat
Oh,
on the
sorry, I
break.
was in the break. I was still going on about the simple things that Michael can't
It's an
do.
easy job. It's so fucking easy. Is just a quote from Dermot on a break.
Pressing
That
record button.
if you wondered what happens behind the curtain, that's what happens. Yeah.
So not much difference in what happens in front of the camera.
Where we got? Hold on.
I
Yeah.
got vomit. Come
I
on.
got vomit. Now, where are we heading as a species?
Oh God.
Where seriously, where are we heading? And this is inspired by my next door neighbor. Um, well, we
He's not a
started,
listener, is he? So you're going to
yeah,
be careful.
we started off as hunters and gatherers back in the day. Then we evolved to farmers.
Oh no, is this a singing dude?
No, no,
Oh,
that's the other way.
talk about him after this.
Uh, so we started off as a species as hunters and gatherers. Okay, that's how we sourced our food. Then we became farmers, and then people started to shop at stores and supermarkets, and we would get the food from there and we would cook it up. And then as a treat, maybe every once a month on a Friday or Saturday, we'd get takeaway. We'd go in and get it, or as a very special treat, we'd have a pizza delivered. Uber Eats.
Oh, I love Uber
But
Eats.
seriously, my next door neighbor, just a pudgy white guy who just a couple of times a day comes out in his dressing gown, emerges from the darkness, comes out in his dressing gown to grab
Emerges from the dark.
to grab his Uber Eats from some underpaid guy, and he trottles back in. What's the next step? We're just going to open our mouths and have people insert food into it. Like, how far divorced are we from nature? That's it. That's all I got. But yeah, the singing guy, we've got this guy who lives next door, and quite often you'll hear him at 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. Because he's got an outside laundry. So he's doing his laundry. I wasn't going to talk about this, but you brought it up.
Well,
And,
I heard him for the first time the other day. I was like, what the fuck is going
and
on?
he starts singing. I thought, okay, righty, at 10:30, 11 at night, it's not too bad. I'll live with it. But the other day, he started to bellow at about 1:30 in the morning.
It's very loud. Like I heard him in the afternoon. He's very loud.
So I've gone out to him and said,
He's screaming basically.
Yeah, mate, this it's 1:30 a.m. People are trying to sleep. What are you doing? And he got a bit. I think he thought I was going to, take a swing at him. So he was all very apologetic. And I'm thinking, if you're that worried about upsetting people and being beaten up, why are you yelling at 1:30 in the morning? That's it.
Can I tell a story? Speaking of I don't know, neighbors. I guess this guy isn't my neighbor, but something remarkable happened the other day. I haven't told you about this either. So
I bet it's not remarkable, but anyway, go.
no, 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 it's actually remarkable. So where do I start? So it was a
Did you say it's an easy job? It's so fucking easy. Did you say that to him?
so it was a Tuesday night. So I don't work Wednesdays, and when I don't work Wednesdays, I normally stay up quite late on a Tuesday night. So it's Tuesday night, and I'm laying in bed, watching a bit of Netflix or whatever, and it's about midnight. It's about 12 o'clock, and it clicks with me. I mean, oh fuck, it's midnight. The bins haven't been taken
You're
out.
so easily angered.
No, but I will explain. So where I live, I'm in an apartment on top of a shop in the main street of a quiet country town. It's a quiet country town in Tasmania. So yeah, I'm basically on the main street next to a
You can tell
roundabout.
them where you are. They're not going to hunt you down, but he's in Huonville.
Oh, great. So now they're gonna. I just on near a roundabout. So now people will be able to figure out exactly where I live.
Nobody's
There's only one roundabout in Hillville.
going to stalk you, Dermot.
Well, we're on the age now. I've got some pretty big fans. Anyway, so where I go, look, we've got this. You have to go down these stairs. You got this gate. You got to unlock it. There's this.
I'm
A
going to
little
start
thing.
slumping in my chair now. Like you did
No,
before.
no, no. You're going to enjoy
No,
the story.
come on,
I'm
go
building
on.
up the
Yeah,
story, right? So anyway, so I think, okay, it's midnight. I've forgotten the bins. Can they wait? Can these bins wait? And I'm like, yep, they can. I sort of like lay there, and I'm like, nah, they can't because they're pretty full. So I'm like, fuck. I force myself out. I go down the stairs. I grab them. I put them on the streets, and I'm in there. I'm in my underwear and
It's
my
getting
shirt.
exciting. You're putting
No,
things on the
so
street.
I'm in my underwear, just in the main street, and I'm looking around. There's no one in sight. It's about 12:15 at this point. And I'm looking around and I'm like, how peaceful is the main streets at this time of night? There's no one around. And I'm just there for a good 30 seconds looking around. I think, yeah, it's nice. I head back up. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, right?
Yeah.
And there's all these notifications on my phone. I'm thinking, what's happening here? It's 12:30 at night, right? 12:30 at night in Huonville. And I'm going to say in Huonville. There was a gunman with a rifle outside the pub which is about 200 meters away from my house where I was standing. 15 minutes after I was standing there was a guy with a rifle, and there was the people in the servo across the road saw him, took a photo. I got the photo and called the police, and then he was there until about 8 o'clock in the morning. They all the roads were closed off, there was near the bridge in the
And
pub.
this is 15 minutes
15 minutes. He
after.
was spotted.
After.
He was spotted 15 minutes after I was standing there. So he could have been anywhere at that time. He could have been about to walk around the corner with the rifle as I was standing there thinking, how peaceful is Hilbert at this time of night? I've never heard it. Here, I'll show you the picture. But yeah, a guy with a rifle, and he was there till 8 o'clock in the morning. The cops were, trying to deal with him. They eventually got him. I don't know what's happened to him. It's a small country town, so we've been trying to figure out. Here he is, but
That Hugo Hagen.
look, there he is with he's pointing a rifle over the bridge in Hillville. But literally, he could have, as I walked back in, he could have literally just walked around the corner. I could have missed him by seconds. Nothing happens in this small country town. I nearly didn't take the bins out. Imagine if I'm found dead on the side of the road in my underwear in bloody Hillville. All because I needed to take bloody the garbage out.
You sent me.
Was that not an interesting story? It's not often that
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no, it was a bit interesting, but it was interesting. Now you sent me a little thing on social media the other day.
For us.
By day cost.
No, they can't see that. That's
No.
I'm trying to show the YouTube viewers the guy with the rifle.
By a day cost delight, and this guy says Collingwood is the only VFL AFL team that can be linked by teammates from 1897 round one to 2025 in 10 names. So Jack Monahan, who played in 1897, obviously, I think he was their captain. He played with Dick Lee, who started a few years later, who then he played with Gordon Coventry, and they had a 2-year overlap in the early 2020s. Who then played with Fons Khan, who played with Thurl Merritt, who played with Kevin Rose, who played with Barry Price, who played with Tony Shaw, who played with Nathan Buckley, who played with Scott Pendlebury. So there you go. So we can link, there's only 8 degrees of separation between Scott Pendlebury and Jack Monahan. I find those things fascinating.
And I do as well. And I think like this is going to continue to go on. So Pendlebury played with Nick Dacos, and then think about who's Nick Dacos going to play with in 20 years' time when he's
Probably
still going around.
Pendlebury's son.
Yeah, probably. There's every chance this could just keep on going on for a
Oh
long
yeah,
time.
no, we'll go on, of course. But
All
there we
right.
go.
Anyway, let's get into who am I? All right, who am I? As our loyal listeners will know, we're not very good. We're good at coming up with the questions because we make it so bloody hard that the other person can't get it. We're not very good at guessing. I'm up 2-0. I think you've had 3 attempts and I've had 2, so we're about to even the legend. So I'm ahead despite
But
having.
again, I'm getting the answers right, but just not on the picks.
Yes, well, that's the whole point of it.
And I don't want to bring up last week.
Oh, there's always a reason why, isn't there?
So
You're a sore loser.
So you got nasty. You got nasty because the week before you were humiliated because you didn't know who Andrew Shaw was. So you said, okay, because you gave me a guy that was before my time, I'm going to give you one before your time.
Only because you were criticizing me saying I should have known my history. So I thought, all right, let's have it.
Indulge me if you will. So Shawwell played 79 games at Collingwood. He was our deputy vice captain. He was still playing when you were 11 years old. Okay. Whereas Mick Irwin retired before I was born, played something like 29 games with Collingwood, hardly comparing apples with apples.
But he was our senior coach when you were about 15 years of age, Michael.
Yeah, that's how I got the answer right because I knew.
Yeah, okay. So you at least knew who he was.
For 5 points.
Yeah.
Here we go. Pick 73 in the 2004 draft, debuted for my original club in 2005 against the Swans. So didn't play for Collingwood first.
Okay, so pick 74.
Pick 73
in
the 2004 draft, made his debut for his original club in 2005 against the Swans.
Nope.
For 4 points. The great-grandson of Early Lumsden, who I didn't know, Ernie Snowy Lumsden, apparently.
This is a good question.
But he was also the great-nephew of Dick Lee, which I didn't know. Did you know this?
Hold on, so did this guy eventually play for Collingwood, or is the link here that he was related to Dick Lee?
No. Well, the rule is you had to have either played for Collingwood or been a senior coach.
Okay. Well, so you're asking if I knew that this person who I don't know was related to Dick Lee?
Well, yeah, I thought that might have been the clue. You might have thought, okay, yeah, I know this guy's related to Dick Lee. A bit like Hoskin Elliott's related to somebody from the 1910 grand final.
I knew that, but no.
Yeah. Okay, for 3 points. The third player to receive the famous Carlton Wolf chant after Val Perovic and Ange Christou. So he obviously played for Carlton. He had the famous Wolf chant.
Yeah, like Sard
That's a
has
good
now.
clue. That could
And he
possibly.
played for Collingwood then.
Yeah,
So he's an
yeah,
ex-Carlton player.
yeah. So he started with Carlton
Oh, shit. And in the 2004 draft,
in the 2004 draft, pick 73, and then he had that famous Wolf chant they do for Val Perovic and Ange Christou.
because
He was the third player to receive that, and now you got Sard getting that chant.
all I can think of is Jordan Russell. But why would he get a chant like that?
But I'm prepared to let you think about this.
Yeah, but
Okay?
I'm
Because
so tempted to say
yeah,
Jordan Russell, but
yeah, this is something you don't extend to me. The
I'm
chant.
so tempted to say Jordan Russell.
So have a think
Is
about it.
this 3 points?
This is 3 points.
2004. It all kind of adds up for him being that player. Fuck it, Jordan Russell.
No.
Jesus, really? Okay, keep on going. Fuck. I would have got it with the next question probably.
2 points.
Ah,
You played 30 games and kicked 10 goals for the Pies between 2007 and 2009.
fucking Chris Bryan.
Chris Bryant.
Fuck, why were they doing that wolfing for Chris
Well, he
Bryan?
was a big left footer. In 2000, for 1 point to go on,
Fuck.
in 2010, he signed with the Green Bay Packers as a punter, followed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then the New York Jets. I think he was only on every. They said they signed him up for a 3-year contract, and then they said within months he was at another club. Like obviously, I'm not sure how the system works, but
Oh,
there you go.
I'm devastated.
Yeah, and that was I gave you a good fair go
No,
at
you
that one.
did. And I would have got that if I waited one more question.
Well, again, we're getting the answers right, but just not.
Yeah, you got to risk it to get the
we're getting
biscuit, don't you? But
big,
that
the
could
big.
but in my head,
So,
I'm thinking there's when you do the wolf chat, I'm thinking there's sort of like a little player with a booming kick, sort of
no,
like
well, Val Perovic wasn't a little
I don't
player.
know who that is. I
Well,
know who.
Val Perovic was their centre half back, former St Kilda player, played in a couple of grannies for him. Very
Uh,
good centre half back.
I guess
It's just the booming kick they do it for. Don't have to be a little
well,
player.
Jordan Russell was actually quite a big kick as well. So
Mm.
it made sense that sort of anyway. Damn it, that hurts.
Mm.
That one hurts. All right, so we're gonna before we wrap it up, we're gonna give a tip for the Friday night's game. Collingwood and the Doggies. Who do you think's gonna win, Mick?
Well, got to go to Pies.
Got to go to
Got to
Pies,
go to Pies.
especially about the Bonds.
So yeah, the Dogs beat a North, but didn't win. What did they win by 20 odd points or something? Or
Yeah, it was on the same time as us. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 20 or something. Yeah.
So you'd think the Pies should be able to account for them given their current injuries.
Pies
So
by.
Pies by, I'll go a conservative 21 points.
You go Pies by 35.
Pies by
Only because
35.
they've got a lot out. We should win comfortably. Is Geordie going to be back? That's the question.
Well, who knows? Like I said, I've been hearing whispers going back a month that he was going to be held back until after the
mm,
bye. So I don't know. You'd have to be in the inside to know that. But
mm.
there you go. But
All right. Any final words?
no, I've just got confirmation. We've got a live stream from Rory Lobb's house, so we might go out with that. I'm sure nothing's happening there, so we'll go out with that at the end.
Yeah.
But no,
Yes.
nothing.
Very good. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you want to follow our socials, you can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. Thanks for listening. We look forward to doing it again next week. See ya.
It's kicking off apparently.